just finished up Thursday and the bulk of our preparation for Arizona State. You know, we would have liked to have gotten outside today, but the weather just wouldn't cooperate. You know, again, we were able to, you know, get a lot of the work necessary against a very good opponent, and a lot of that is tempo and pressure and, you know, a very balanced offense where you have to be on it. Excuse me, run, pass. They give you a lot of different conflicts. And then, you know, from an offensive standpoint, you know, being able to pick up their pressures. So, good week of practice. Guys are locked in, excited about the opportunity, and looking forward to the challenge. So, with that, questions?
What were you able to do?
Excuse me.
What were you able to do last year to slow them down? You seem to do a really good job defending the width of the field, which they make you play.
Right. You know, without giving out too much of what we thought was effective, I think more than anything else is, you know, mixing things up. You know, where we had been very consistently in one coverage against them last year leading up to that game, I think we broke a lot of tendencies.
The players have talked about, I think the term they use is embrace the hate when they go into a hostile environment. I wonder, do you kind of embrace that too? I mean, do you feel it? Do you get into it being in a hostile environment?
No, for me, it's just more of, you know, I just try to really eliminate all of the distractions and be, you know, more focused on keeping our guys locked into the moment. So for me, you know, just keeping them loose is what I try to do. You know, I want them to see me as being relaxed and confident, and try to, you know, carry that on into all the big games on the road. And that's kind of been my style throughout my career.
You've got, I mean, people have to direct some things at you. You've got to hear that sometimes, don't you?
You know, the only time since I've been at Notre Dame, I've only heard one fan direct something at me. It was at USC. We were winning the game at USC, and again, this is our 12-0 season. And there was a lady screaming at me the whole game. I mean, screaming at me. And we were winning the game. And I finally turned around and she had a Notre Dame sweatshirt on. And that kind of diffused the whole thing of me listening to anybody in the stands. So I figured if you're going to go 12-0 and there's a Notre Dame fan grinding you in the fourth quarter at USC while you're about to go 12-0, you might as well not listen to anybody.
That sounds like something Lou Holtz would have said. And last thing about this, do you educate I know this is the second time now because you went to Florida State, but do you educate the freshmen about how to deal with it when they go into that environment for the first time?
Well, we did a little bit of that already at Florida State, and I think we kind of passed that test. And you know, we did less of that, you know, for Arizona State,
right.
You know, because we think we've kind of been there and done that, and I think they know how to handle it. So, you know, this is really about, you know, just going out and executing and playing clean football, and we have to play well. I mean, you know, we have to play better defensively, and we have to be really efficient on offense. So I think it's less about the things that we had to concern ourselves at Florida State and more about what we do in this game.
Yeah, I'm not saying that applies now. I'm just talking about the first time you go on the road. What's the advice you give the freshmen when you went to Florida State?
Oh yeah, we talked a lot about, you know, the first time on the road. The very first thing is attention to on time. You know, don't be late for meetings. You know, I don't want to have to sit somebody in the first quarter in a big game. You talk more about, you know, those kinds of things. And then expect the crowd to be, on you, and you have to, stay focused on your job. And if you're distracted easily, you're probably not meant to play in these kind of games.
Brian, how did the communication piece of moving on beyond Joe Schmidt, how did that work itself out this week?
Niles handled pretty much all of the communication. So he did a great job this week, and he'll be the guy making the calls out there.
And how confident are you in him being able to do that?
I'm confident. I mean, he had a really good week, and he's extremely confident in himself. Look, he's not going to be perfect. We're going to, certainly there's going to be a hiccup here or there, but he's got a pretty good understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, and I think he had an excellent week, and we feel, and Brian and I feel very confident that he can handle the duties of the middle linebacker position and coordinating what we need to get done out there.
And then how did Joe's surgery go, and what's the prognosis in terms of when he could return to football activities?
He had great reports, in terms of the success, and this is a surgery that, generally speaking, that it's a 6-month at the far end relative to upping, ready to go and full contact. So that would be, if it takes the full 6 months. I know our trainers feel like they can get him back sooner, but we're saying 6 months right now.
You indicated you wanted to maybe do some experimentation in the first couple of days. Were you able to do any of that, or did you feel it was not necessary with Niles making the progress that he did?
Yeah, no, Niles took it from the very first practice, and there's no doubt about who's the guy out there. He's going to be the starting linebacker. He's going to make the calls for us, Greer's going to back him up, Greer Martini.
I guess somewhat related to that note, Micah Deeb is one of the few guys that hasn't made it in for the sophomore class. He usually had a giant elbow brace on, and I assume there's some type of injury that kept him from maybe competing on special teams at this point.
He's involved in the depth on some of our special teams, and I think he's starting on one of them this weekend. Yeah.
Coach, how big of a game is this?
How big of a game is this? I expected a little bit more from you, Angelo. How big of a game is this?
Just throwing the softball.
Throwing the big one up there. They're all big games, Angelo. Look, for me, the most important thing is that our guys play the kind of football they're capable of playing. I want to win, right? That's why we're in this. We want to win the football game. I want us to play to the level we're capable of playing. If we do that, then I expect us to win the football game. That's how I go into these. I don't go into them like, hey, this is a big game, or next week's a big game, because then you would coach differently. And I don't coach any different this week than I did last week. I want our team to play the best they can play. I think the implications are out there that, that everybody knows that, you got to keep winning if you want a chance to be in the playoffs. And so from that perspective, from everybody else's perspective, that's a big game. I don't work in that world. I work in the preparation and getting our football team to play their very best. I understand all the other implications, but for me and our coaches, we just don't operate in that world. Do the kids listen to it, and do they watch TV? I'm sure they do. They're not sequestered. They watch TV and see that, Arizona State bumped them, and, they see all that stuff. But they also know that has no bearing on it, that they have to play well. So all that's out there. I understand that totally. But our job this week is to get them to play the best that they can play. And if they do that, we believe that we'll win this weekend.
Brian, what did you feel like CJ's gotten out of the last few weeks as a mirror of his been sidelined or slowed, I guess?
Yeah. Well, no, I think they're a tandem. So when one's playing well, you know, like early in the year, he was playing well, then he got the injury, and then CJ has stepped up a little bit. But, you know, we need them both. And I think we're a better football team with both of them in there. And they both do things well and can contribute in a fashion. I don't think, if you look at the strength of our team, I think having both of those guys together, we're a better team than just having one of them.
With Niles, do you have to simplify the defense at all with him in there, or is that just one of the characteristics of this defense that it's good because it's complicated and you have to just go that route?
We have not simplified what we're doing. I mean, I don't think you can go into a game like this against that offense and play vanilla. If you do, it's going to be a long day. I mean, they're just too good. And they have a ton of answers. So, no, I mean, we have to be who we are. And we would not have gone down this road unless we felt Niles was capable of doing the job. And we have great confidence. And look, he's extremely confident in his ability, and that's what changed. That's the game changer here. He believes in himself, and if we got a young man that is that confident in his ability, now he's going to make some mistakes, but he does not look back. I mean, he's ready for the next play, and we love that about him.
That confidence, is that something you knew you had during the recruiting process, or did it take training camp? When do you see
We
that?
knew it in camp, when the linebacker room is next to the quarterback room. And I could hear Coach Van Gorder going through a number of the mistakes that Niles was making. And that was a regular occurrence, day in and day out. And it would make most young men weep. But Niles would come back the next day with a smile, wanting more. And you just knew that this was one of those special kids that he just wanted to learn more football. And that's the way he's been from day one, is just teach me. And we're going to get a chance to see him run around on Saturday.
And how did he handle not playing? I mean, you comment on Malik and how frustrating it was for him. I know he's a year older, but how did Niles handle that?
He stayed engaged in terms of the education process, I think, and that's what's put him in a good position where he is right now.
Is that maybe one of the harder things of the recruiting process? You can judge physical talent, but maybe you don't get as good a sense about how well they're going to grasp it until you get them on campus and start to see them in meetings?
Oh, sure. That's a definite part of the whole process of, you know, what's their football IQ? You know, how do you test their football IQ? I mean, you really have to do a good job in your individual meetings with them. You have to do a really good job when you're questioning about them. I mean, that's the whole thing in the NFL. I mean, those individual meetings, you know, I've gotten pretty close to Bill Belichick, and, you know, their whole meetings are about football IQ. You know, after they pass some standardized, you know, background checks, it's football IQ. And so that's a huge piece in this recruiting process.
Brian?
Everett kind of said that he kind of enjoys going against teams that are pretty blitz happy. He thinks that's where a quarterback really kind of shines and proves himself.
Mhm.
How far has he come in that kind of chess match in a game?
Oh, he's much better, much better. Yeah, the ball can come out on time. You know, I think, you know, one of the things with Everett is that, you know, the different than Tommy. Like last year, we got into a check you check game with them, and you know, we ate up the whole clock trying to get into the right check, and you know, Graham would do something, and then Kelly would do something, and then Tommy would do something, and it was, you know, that won't happen in this game. You know, Everett's going to call the play, and that's what we're running. And if they bring one more guy, you know, Everett can get out of some trouble. So he's definitely confident in his ability that, you know, he can get the ball out of his hands or make you miss.
Brian, is there any clarification on Hardy's status this week for you?
The clarification is that we're in dialogue with the NCAA, trying to get a final clarification or a final final declaration from them relative to his immediate eligibility, and that is a fluid situation. We're hoping to get a final answer from them, very, very soon. Hopefully, within the next few hours. Hopefully before Saturday. But that has been handled by our compliance and our associate athletic director. They've been working on that diligently and with the NCAA. So it's been something that we've been working on during the week.
And can I assume the university's at least cleared him that?
Yeah, there's not a university hold here. This is an NCAA matter right now.
And then Bryant didn't play last week because of an injury. How's he been this week?
He's been good this week. Yep, he's practiced all week.
There were some fourth quarter difficulties on special teams. Is that an area, especially this Saturday?
What were they?
Oh, a couple missed field goals.
Well, get Brinza in here.
Um,
I think
Almost a
as
fumble punt.
huh?
Almost a fumble punt.
We'll get Cody Riggs in here. I think those were individual mistakes. I think the wind was swirling, and I think Kyle maybe got maybe read a little bit too much into the wind, and I think he learned a lot, playing in that stadium about, look, just hit it. I think he got a little bit, I think he psyched himself out a little bit about the wind. I think he learned a very, very good lesson. As far as the muff punt, Cody had a hard time with that wind in there. There's no question about that. Other than that, I think we won the average field position, and that's a big thing for us.
Your offensive line, Brian, you made the changes after game 3. Is there still a higher level for this group, do you think? And you also, a couple weeks ago, I think to one of Tim's questions mentioned McGlinchey making a move. Is he still pushing at that right tackle spot?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Every single day, he's getting reps with the first team. So, he's ready. Again, it's a matter of supplanting a senior, in there with Christian. The one thing with Christian is, he may not be spectacular in anything, but he's pretty solid. He doesn't give up the big sack. He's in good position. So it's, you know what I mean? He's kind of steady. He's a steady guy out there. And Mike sometimes is, sometimes he's just so powerful and he can be dominating, and then he'll swing and miss. And so we got to clean up a couple of his swing and misses because he's so long sometimes that it gets him in trouble. So that's what we're working through, and that's the process that we're going through. So we think there's a higher level there that we're not at yet.
I got one more. Michael doesn't get mad at me.
Well, if we could keep the door closed and keep everybody from coming in there, can you bulk up a little bit? Come on, Mike.
Well, some miles in the season now.
Drew Tranquil's played so many different roles for you, and I
Yeah.
know when on signing day you talked about him and said, we're going to find a home for him, we're going to find a way to get him on the field. Can you talk about his season, and where is his future? Is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? Is he going to be a hybrid player for you moving forward?
Well, we think that, as he continues to develop, he could be a linebacker, but he's right now a box safety. He's a guy that, we feel like plays better closer to the ball than playing a half safety with him. So, where that ends up, I think, will be determined by situational substitution. He could possibly even, morph into, that kind of nickel position. He just, right now, we didn't want to put him at 2 or 3 different positions other than the one that we trained him for option. But again, I think after the season we'll kind of figure out the position that we want him at and really train him there. But he's been an unsung hero for us. Good? All right, thanks. I gotta go do my radio show.